internet was spotty, so I've moved down to another area, and I have my iPad. So if I keep looking this way, that's where I'm looking at you to see questions. I don't have my dual screen. I'm Jen Giffen. I'm coming to you from Richmond Hill. So we are 2 hours into the future. So we can tell you that it's already getting dark because it's winter in Canada, um, and uh, and yeah, I'm excited for the next couple of hours that we will spend here together today. Norlee, do you want to take it over and do a land acknowledgement here for us?
Sure, this is our traditional territories of the Mississaugas of the Credit here. The link to today's resource is provided here for you in the chat. And just to let you know that this session is being recorded.
So we are contractors with Logix Academy. What that means is we are practicing teachers. I am actually a teacher librarian in a high school in Richmond Hill. I've been in this role for 5 years. Before that, I was a digital literacy consultant for 3 years, and then I call myself a recovered high school English teacher for the 14 or so years before that. I taught English, math, special ed, and a lot of different things. And so we just sort of work on the side with Logix Academy to bring great PD to teachers who are trying to infuse classrooms or trying to infuse technology rather into their classroom in meaningful ways. We, of course, we have partners throughout the EdTech space, including Microsoft, Google, Minecraft for education. We're an Apple professional learning provider. And we do want to thank Google for Education and Bernice Pui from the Edmonton Public Schools for coordinating this today, and then Google, of course, for funding everything that we are doing with you folks today. So without further ado, I do want to jump in. We're already 5 minutes in, so I want to make sure that we're maximizing our time together. If at any time I'm going too quickly, because I think fast and I talk fast, if at any time I'm going too quickly for you, please make sure you put something in the chat or unmute and just say, Jen, repeat that again or show me that again. And I'm more than happy to do it. Like Norlee said, everything that you will see here is going to be in your it is going to be in the slide deck that we're sharing as well. I'm going to be sort of going between two separate windows here. In fact, I might take this into another. So right now I'm presenting to you from my personal account, but I need to actually jump into my school account to show you a lot of the features that I'm going to be sharing today. I'm going to spend a lot of time in those like first 2 or 3 diamonds that you see there on the right hand side. So we're going to look at practice sets, we're going to look at interactive YouTube questions and originality reports. And then I'm going to touch on sharing class visits, shareable templates, and third-party applications, only because for the 4th and 5th one there, the class visits and shareable templates are only available to certain people. It depends on the permissions that you have in your domain. And the third-party add-ons, I could go like forever and ever and ever because there's so many. And again, it depends on what you use. So I want to let you know that they are available to you, but I don't necessarily need to dive into them in detail because I don't want to show you a whole bunch of stuff that you may not use. So without further ado, I'm actually going to take this over here and see if indeed, I'm going to make sure that you can. Yes, you can. You can still see my screen. Perfect. So I'm going to jump into my school account instead so that I can show you all these fun things. So let's start out with practice sets. And before we begin, if you just want to in the chat, how many of you can just put a Y or an N, have, let's say, tried practice sets before? How many of you have tried practice sets in Google Classroom? Okay, seen some of them come up here.
Nice. You have some beginners.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we seem to be a pretty even split. Oh, now we're going more towards the nose. Okay, so if you don't know, practice sets are interactive assignments that provide students with real-time feedback. So I'm going to show you a really quick video. Norlee, if you can just give me a thumbs up that you can actually hear the audio when I go, we should be able to. But technology doesn't always like to work how we go. Let's see.
So let's see.
Well, I can't even hear it.
No,
it's playing out of my other ones. Oh, you can?
We can hear it. We can hear it. Yep. Sounds good, Jen. Double thumbs up.
That exist today. For educators, having a round-the-clock tutor for each student that can help them grade classwork and give insights into student comprehension would be ideal. That's why we're creating a new tool in Google Classroom called Practice Sets. which enables educators to create interactive assignments from their existing content or from scratch. Students can get help as they answer questions, and teachers can get automated insights to know where students are getting stuck. Let's take a look at how it works.
Okay, so I'm actually going to walk you through how it works rather than watching a video, but that video is here if at any point you do want to jump in and try to explain practice sets to people. Now you're really lucky because practice sets are only available in Google Workspace for Education Plus, formerly G Suite Enterprise, and the G Suite Enterprise for Education and Teaching and Learning Upgrade Editions. There's so many words in those, like Google. Like, can we think of longer ways to call things in our suite? It's so funny. It used to be so easy back in the day, right? Okay, so what are they here? Yeah, right, Norley? So
Yeah.
practice sets are created in assignments. So if you're ever going into Google Classroom, and I'm going to go into a Google Classroom right now.
There's a link we'll provide it in the. There's a link for you guys.
Thank you. You can also go up to your little waffle there, right? And find it in here. And did I miss it? No, I didn't. Okay, it's just not going to work for me today. That's okay. You can go to classroom.google.com. And we can get in. So here we go. So we have practice sets. Now, if you have practice sets enabled, they will be available. One place is right here on the side. Okay, this is right underneath the classroom logo where it says practice sets, and you'll say new because it's fairly new. Okay, you can also go into a class. So in a class, I might come here to where it says classwork, and I'm going to create a new assignment. And when I create that assignment, you'll notice that on the bottom here, there are two new things. There's this YouTube, which I'm going to talk to you in a second, and there are practice sets. And practice sets is where you create a practice set. Like, it makes a lot of sense, right? So we're going to click practice set, and it actually opens a whole new window for you. So you sort of come out of your usual, like what it looks like in assignments, and you see this. And what you'll notice is that if you have practice sets already set up, they're here, practice sets, in my case, my practice 3, and you can create your own by going up to the create button. So if you click create, I'm going to give you all time to work through this and play with it and get a little bit mucky, because I think that's important in this kind of learning, so it stays a little bit sticky. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to name your practice set. So I might call this like I'm going to say a math practice. Okay. And then I can type any kind of question I want. So when I'm typing questions, here's what happens. I am going to, let's say, type, what is the square root of 9? Okay. And I have, it'll suggest through the power of the gremlins in my computer, which we call AI, I can see that it's going to suggest an answer. And I say, yeah, that's great. Now that's if I want first of all, I'm going to spell it right properly. Okay, that's if I want a short answer. But you'll notice here there's a drop down, and I can choose a whole bunch of different kinds, right? 4 different kinds. I can choose paragraph answers, single select, or multi-select answers. Now, the ones that say auto beside it will auto grade for you and give automatic feedback to the students, whether they've got it right or wrong. The paragraph answers, we're not there yet. But given how far we've come with AI since, I discovered AI in November of 2022, who knows, maybe we're all going to be able to mark our essays and not have to worry about that come a year from now. I don't think we're going to get there, but you never know. So that's where we are. I see Bailey's laughing there. Hi, Bailey. Bailey thinks that's you, like, who knows? Okay. So what I can do here is I can say, yep, I want it to be 3. And then I can, here, the next thing you see is that there's a skill suggestion. So if I go in here, I can say, oh, calculating square roots. Yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to do, actually. So I hit that, and it says, okay, notice what happened right here. That light bulb that used to be, I'll show you, gray, just going to take it off, will turn yellow. And that means that we now have a resource that students can use. So do I want it to be an explainer? Do I want it to be a video? Let's say I say, okay, I want it to be an explainer. It'll say, hey, here's different explainers, which are just basically like almost little cue cards that can pop up. So I'm like, yeah, I want to use this one. Maybe, okay, this sort of will help explain how they do that. Great, yeah, I want to keep that. And then this one is a a video. Do I want to keep that? Maybe I don't want them to see a video. I can delete that resource, or I can keep it. I'm going to keep it in this case. I'm like, okay, great. There is my question off and running. So I'm just going to pop back in here and make sure we see everything. So like you saw the infrastructure here, you're going to create it right by clicking that practice set button, hit the create button, it'll show up. You can also get it on the side. And then we have the 4 types. You're going to add a title and you're going to select an answer. Now, the one thing I didn't speak to that would be really helpful in this case is we also have this math keyboard. And I'm going to show you what that looks like now. So I have my first question. I'm all great. I want to add another question. There's 2 ways I can do that. And I have a slide on this in a second. I can click the little plus sign up here on the side. And that will add a new question, text, or I can import. I'm going to talk about what import does because it's pretty cool. Or I can come down to the bottom. So I'm going to say a new question again. And I can say, now I'm going to say evaluate, and I'm going to use that math keyboard. So when I click the little sigma sign and it says insert math formula, they'll say, okay, here you go. What do you want to do? And notice what's happened here. All of a sudden I have this little keyboard. So when I click it, I'm going to just zoom out a little bit. At the bottom, what you see is I get all these different like mathematical sort of not necessarily formulas, but what's the word I'm looking for? Like just the different functions that I might want to use. So in this case, I might want to say evaluate the square root of, in this case, I'll say 64. And my correct answer, I might do this one as a single select. So I might say, okay, I want it to be, it's going to be, is it 32? Is it 8? Is it 6? Or is it 12? Okay. And then I'm going to select my correct answer, which is going to be 8, right? 8 times 8 is 64. And again, I can see selected calculating square roots. Oh, simplifying algebraic expressions, even better. Great. And again, I can see what they've offered as different resources for students. So I'm going to say, I don't really like that one. And I already used that one. I don't really like the ones they've suggested. So I'm going to go to the plus sign and I might give a little hint. And I might say, think of the perfect squares we learned in class. So I do apologize if you're not a math teacher and I'm provoking a lot of math anxiety in a lot of people, because I know that can happen when we do math examples. I just really wanted to make sure we show that. Okay, so I'm going to hit click save. I'm all good. And now I have my second question. Well, this is fantastic. So we're moving right along here. I've used that. I'm all good. We've seen what our resources can do. We know what our skills are. Now, sometimes you might have, in fact, let me go back and show you. Sometimes you might have a case where you don't have a skill suggested. So let me put in another question, and I'm going to say, what is the square root of, let's see if it gives me one, 32, or I'm going to say approximate the square. My fingers don't like it.
It's a tricky word.
I know I have my fingers, maybe think it's after 5 p.m. I don't know. Okay, I also find this, does anyone else find this all the time? Like when you go to type in front of people, it's like your fingers do their own thing. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so approximate the square root of 32. And we're going to say that. So it's going to suggest it, but I don't want necessarily that. So I'm going to say to the nearest whole number. And will it suggest it? Oh, no, it doesn't. So I'm like, okay, so the kids are going to have to put something in. What did it say there? It said 5.3 something or other. So I'm going to say the answer, the correct answer is 5. And does it give me suggested? Oh, it still does. But let's say sometimes it doesn't. I'm trying to think of one. There was a couple that I did in my other ones, of course, that didn't. Sometimes it doesn't do that. So what I might try to do here is I'm going to add my own resource. Okay, so my suggested is about estimating square roots. And okay, apply estimation. I like that. It's going to give me a couple videos so I can look at each of them. I'm like, okay, yeah, these work. If I'm like, oh, I don't want to use these ones though, because I had one that I showed in class and I really want them to watch that again, because that shows them how we learned how to do it and it'll be familiar to my students. So I can take these ones out completely. I can go to add a YouTube video as well. And I can say estimating square roots. And I might say, yeah, this is the one that we used. So I'm going to put that one. I'm going to add this video. And then the one I wanted was there. Now, I did it by searching keywords. You can also put in the actual link if you wanted to, if you had something. I see a couple people there gave us a thumbs up. I'm glad you like that. I like that too. So now you're like, I wonder how this is going to look like to the kids. And finally, oh my goodness, Google, for the love, thank you. Finally, we have a student view. Like, how often in Google Classroom have we said, I wonder how the students are going to see this? And then you're like, I really wish we could do that. And you're like, for the love, Google. I do for the love Google all the time. By the way, little sidebar. See this little, what's this called? A question mark down here in the bottom corner. See this right there where it says help? If you click that, and you can say report an issue for practice tests. That is also their feedback. I actually, in 2017, when I went to the Google Innovator Academy in Washington, D.C., I met the person at the time, I don't know if she still is, who was the project manager for Google Classroom. And she said, anytime you have feedback for us, anytime you want to suggest something, go to that little question mark. And I was like, why? And she goes, because it all comes. Legit, she held up her Pixel phone and she's like, look, send something. So I sent some feedback in right away and the email showed up in that inbox. They use that in real time to get feedback. And the more feedback that they get on a desire for a certain feature or for a usage or something like that, they do put that in their queue and on their roadmap so that hopefully they will do that. If any of you have ever done this before and used that little question mark, you actually get an email saying, hey, thanks for your suggestion about ABC. Because of educators like you and the feedback, we are now doing this. And they keep you abreast of when it's going to come out. And you feel like you've changed the universe. So everyone, I want you to take a minute and thank me for scheduling in Google Classroom and differentiation, because I suggested those and single-handedly brought them to Google. Not really, there were like hundreds and hundreds of us. But when you get, yes, thank you for the applause. Thank you. You do feel very, very special and important when you do that. At any rate, okay. So I saw a couple of
Sorry,
people.
Jen, we have a couple questions here. Yeah. We have one from John, and he's asking, is this essentially a simplified version of Google Forms? What would be the benefit or advantage of using this over Forms?
Okay, so I love this question, John, and you a nice little segue into where I've gone. I also don't like it when people say, thank you for that question. That was a great question. Like, you're like, are you going to tell someone if it's not a good question? Anyway, that's another thing. So the reason I like it is this. I'm going to show you this try as students. So this is what I can do now. If I want to see how the students would see it and interact with it, I'm going to go to try as students. So it's going to open me in a new tab. I'm going to have a little sip of water while it does that. And it's going to load my practice set. And it says, okay, what is the square root of 9? I'm like, okay, I think it's 4.5. And I'm going to check it. And notice a couple of things here. I can check it right away. I can also come up here to this light bulb where it says show a hint. It doesn't show the students right away, but I can come in and be like, oh, look, oh yeah, I need that. Okay, good. I can check it. And it will say, nope, try again. I don't like that. So here's what I would say to you, John. I think practice sets are a lot less time consuming for us to create as educators. And that's our currency, right? Time is our currency. Whenever you ask anyone, what do you need from us? Like any kind, we need time and we need money as educators. And money is something that I know sometimes I guess we can kind of get, but I guess it depends on our government, how much they like us or not. But we definitely can't just find time. So for me, I really like that I don't have to set up a form that's like, data validation and or like, okay, if they answer this, then let them go to the next question. But if they answer that, then make them watch this video, which they may choose to, or I don't want to force them. So I really like that I like that it gives the accountability to students. And I also, on the teacher side of things, and I'm going to show you in a second, I really like the insights that it provides right in Google Classroom. So I don't need to leave Classroom and go to Forms. That'd be my answer to that. Okay, so I say try again. I'm like, oh, square root of 9. Oh, no, not half a 9. Okay, 3. Okay, I'm going to check that. I'm going to check. And it says, yay, it's green. I'm right. Happy. I can also go to an area where I can actually, I'm going to save this one. So evaluate this one. Again, I can be like, okay, I want to watch some of these. So what did it say? Oh, think of the perfect squares. Oh, okay, I think I know how we did that. Great. Now, just so I can show you, I'm just going to come back up here. If the student chose to watch one of these videos, it would actually play in here without having to open another. There you go. it'll play right there. So I don't need to open and get all those distractions with the, hey, here's the next video, and here's the next video, and here's where I can go, right? Everything is baked right into the tool, which we see a lot in Google Classroom with YouTube when we integrate in this way. I love it. Okay, so in this case, I'm gonna say 8. I'm gonna be like, yep, check that. And it's gonna say yes. Okay, beautiful. Now approximate this to the nearest whole number. At this point, I may have included something about show your work, and students can come down here. Oh, I heard a hand. I heard a hand. Yes.
We have a
yes.
hand here.
Person with a hand up. Go ahead and unmute. I'm happy to field questions. Oh, it may have been an accidental hand too.
Sorry, it was by accident. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. You can also just like leave it up, and I'll think you're like praising the whole time. I'm good with that. Okay, so we are going to go to show your work, and down here now I have an area that I can type stuff into. It's very, advanced. I can remove the notepad if I want to. I can come in here with the pen and actually write thing. Oh no, come on back. Or sorry, that's pencil. And I doesn't like me. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, and I can like write things in here if I want to, if students are doing that, especially if students are on tablets of any sort and they want to like note their work as they're going for longer work. I think this is really great. You can also change the grid that they see if it's squares. They had to draw like little parabolas or whatnot, or this is all like really great stuff. I love all of this. So I do all that. I'm good. The kids, I now see what the kids have seen. I really like it. This is good. I see my extra help. You'll notice too, oh, I'm gonna actually show what I just did there. If I click extra help at the top as a student, it will pull up every single resource. So all those little light bulbs, instead of going through question by question, I can click there and all of the resources will show up at the side, which will be really good for students, especially if it's on a similar topic again and again. They're like, oh, which question had that video again? They can see it all in one location, which I think is really great. Okay, you can also put text. In fact, I'm going to come back to this in a second. I'm going to go and open one of my other practice sets to show you what they look like. I'm going to come back. I'm going to say done editing. And I'm going to go back here to practice 3. So what you might do here, you can add text. You saw that instead of a question. So here, like, here's a math question, here's a French question, here's a history question, here's a general opinion, right? So these are different things that we can use as well. That text between, I used it as headers, but you might use it as longer questions, or now I want you to think about this, and to offset so that the problem that students have to address is in the square, but the context for that might be the text above or below it, right? I really like that offset. I'm thinking of like universal design for learning and students who might need to really see something almost highlighted that we can't necessarily do here. They know, okay, look into the box. Look, if you look in the box, that's where your question is. Okay, so the other thing that you may have seen, I'm going to edit this one for now. When I was creating questions, and I said I promised you I'd come back to it, and now's the time. I'm going to create a new question, but I'm going to do it with the import tool. So if I click import, what it's going to do is open a dialog box, and in there, it's only going to show me PDFs in my Google Drive. So I have all these PDFs, and you're like, oh, well, why does that matter to me? Because you can actually check. I'm going to see if I have anything. I don't know how many PDFs I actually have in here that would be on something. But what I can do, in fact, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to show you the quick little video about uploading questions into a practice set, so that we don't need to worry about finding one that's appropriate, because I'm a librarian. I don't have a whole lot of worksheets in my Google Drive. But here we go. Let me show you why this matters and why this is pretty cool in 1 minute.
We created questions and question sets from a PDF. To do this, once you go into your practice sets, you're going to click the import button at the bottom of the screen. From there, select a file. This can be from your drive or uploaded from your computer. Once you've selected your file, you can click and drag the question or questions if you want to do multiple questions to upload, and click import questions. And you'll notice that the different problems are uploaded into your practice set. You can also add multiple imports. So if I want to add a question from another worksheet, I can click the other worksheet, import, and click and drag the question I want to add.
and it will put it, and it already will put the question type. You can always change this if you want to edit it further. That is how you import already created questions into practice sets.
So why do we love this? Because how often do we have something that was already created and you're like, I don't want to have to necessarily retype this question. I don't want to have to reformat things. Like the work is done. I just need to pull it in. So I know that, I think it was John earlier asked about why do we like this over Google Forms? This might be one of our reasons. If we already have resources created, if we have, let's say we find a textbook that we're really liking a question from, take a picture, turn it into PDF, upload it to your Google Drive, and boom, now we have questions that we can create. I absolutely love it. I think it's so valuable for saving ourselves time when we're working on creating resources for students. So I'm going to, like I said, you can try these as a student. I love that feature because we can see, we can interact with it. We can, I think part of the reason with Google Classroom that students tend to struggle is because we don't see their side, right? So we can't guide them through. So I love that we can do that in this. And then finally, what you can do next is you can go into your classroom and see how are people doing on these. So I've created a practice set, and they're just that. They're for formative assessment, right? Not summative assessment. This is just to gauge how well students are doing, where they're struggling, where we need to do more work, where either individually as a class. So I can go in and look at insights into how that's happening. So I assign a practice set to a group, or not even. You could assign it to a single person if you wanted to, because of differentiation, which, as I mentioned earlier, came because of me and all of my feedback to Google. So what I do in this case is I send it out to a class, and then I go in and I decide I want to look at what this looks like. So you go into your classwork tab, you click the assignment and click review work, and then you can see all the information that you've gleaned after students have done their practice set, and it looks just like an assignment. In fact, I'll show you. You can do all of this. I'm going to go in. This is a practice test. Of course, I'm not showing you real student data for privacy reasons, but if I go into my classwork page here, I had one on practice set number 2. Yep, there we go. You can tell that it's not an assignment because it has that like document with the check mark. That's what practice sets look like. And I'm going to click review this work, and it will open up just like we see when we get an assignment in, but slightly different. What you'll notice on that left-hand side is it gives you some insight. So I can see, all students, how have they done? Okay, they got question one right. Everyone got that one right. Nobody got it wrong. I only have one student in this class. It's my own kid. I make him enter all of my classes so I can toy around with it. It's the benefit of having your own children in your district. I can look at him specifically and say, okay, what did he say? Now, this is where I love it. This too, John, when you're like, well, why is this better than Google Forms? In Google Forms, the kid might just get the wrong answer and then have all these wrong answers. But now they can have multiple attempts, and I can see the attempts over here, hit two attempts beforehand. This is what they said. So I can see their progress of thought in making any kind of changes when they realize, oh, that one's wrong. Okay, well, what other answer could it be? And it could be like if they have like 10 guesses, then I know that they're guesses and I need to work at it. But if I start noticing that, let's say, a whole bunch of students answer it and 30% of my students don't get it right on the first try. If I go in and notice they all put the same wrong answer first, that's really great data for me to drive my own instruction when I'm reviewing with students on the content that I'm evaluating at that point. And then you can also see at the side here, right, the idea of like many students attempted this multiple times, students persevered through multiple attempts on many problems. So now we're getting to our learning skills. Like, okay, this is a kid who is showing perseverance. This is a student who is showing some grit or rigor. And I really like that too, because we're not just looking at, okay, are they getting questions right or wrong? We also want to know about studentship skills, which we can glean from this as well. So practice sets are really cool for that. So I want to, now that we're halfway through, which is good, I wanted to spend half on this. I want to give you a few minutes just to dive into Google Classroom. And if you've never played with practice sets before, try it. Like, go build some muscle memory. Feel free in the next couple of minutes to throw any questions you have in the chat. And then Noralee and I will sit here and chit chat while you give it a go. How's that? Noralee, have you used practice sets before?
So that's something brand new. And I was curious about the part here where for the insights. So how did you get there again?
Yeah. I'll totally show you. So I've got to go back in here. To get the insights, they actually automatically show up. So when you normally see a Google Classroom assignment, you have on the side here, like who's handed in, who hasn't, you can grade it. These insights are automatically populated in every practice set. As soon as this one student has submitted their work, those insights get populated. So if you have a class of 24 and only one has put stuff in, you'll see them, and then it will continue to change and evolve as more and more students submit their work. Or not really, it's not really submitting work, as more and more give the practice set a go.
Yeah, I love that. And you can definitely tap into those learning skills as well. For us over here, we have progress reports coming up and parent-teacher interviews.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that, the critical thinking piece and taking a look at the number of attempts and the perseverance and the growth mindset piece, you could see like a snapshot for these insights. Yeah.
Absolutely. And even if you like, imagine having students, I'm just even thinking, okay, I have I'm going to give a practice set at the beginning of a unit before we've learned any of this and see how many attempts it takes. And then I'm going to do it partway through and then again and see how that goes. And then maybe again as a review right before a culminating activity of some sort, and just see the growth that way can also really help. Like there's just a lot of data that you can glean. I really love, this is one of my favorite updates in Google Classroom that we've had in a really long time. There have been things that have been really useful, right? Like scheduling classes and things like that. But this, as far as functionality of Google Classroom beyond just a dissemination and collection of information as a true pedagogical tool, I think it's really up to the level on it.
Totally.
For Google Classroom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone have any questions that they wanted to pose as we go? We're all good? Okay, hopefully we've had some time to play. I will move on then to interactive YouTube questions. So interactive YouTube questions, does anyone ever use Edpuzzle? Want to give me a little thumbs up or something in the chat? Oh, I'm seeing a couple of thumbs down. I'm seeing a couple of thumbs up. Excellent. So Edpuzzle is a really cool ed tech tool that allows you to put questions in. It stops videos and stuff while students are watching it to gauge their understanding as they watch. Well, like Google does, whenever they see a good tool and they're like, that looks really cool, we should do that, they've adopted a similar model with what they call interactive questions. So what are they? You can add questions to a YouTube video and assign it to a student all right within Classroom. As the video plays back, questions sort of pop up as they go. Now, students can jump ahead and jump behind for the Edpuzzle users. I know that's not allowed in Edpuzzle. But in Google Classroom, you can. But you can put as many questions as you want. And then educators, like it says here, can receive insight about the progress and to see what questions students have struggled with. So what you do is just like we saw for practice sets, you're going to go to interactive questions. You're going to create an assignment and then click on that YouTube button down at the bottom where it says new. Following that, you can choose question types and they'll appear in a video. So the video will start playing. In fact, you know what? Let me do it in real time here for you. So I'm going to leave all of this. I'm going to leave this all. Why will you not let me out of this? Where am I going wrong here? Sorry, folks. Oh, I know why, because it's open in a new tab. I can't go back because it's a new tab. I love that. I love when I'm demoing and I'm like, how does this happen? Because I know all of you will all one day have that and be like, how did she get there? That's how I got there. Okay, so here I am. I'm going to create something new again. And in this time, again, an assignment. And I'm going to choose YouTube. And it's going to take a minute and it's going to open up. Excellent. So I can either search YouTube or paste a URL. So give me a topic right now that someone is studying in class. Throw it in the chat. Symbolism. Love it. Thank you, Bailey.
Nice.
Symbolism, my English teacher heart. Excellent. What is symbolism? So I could use our symbolism explain. That's 10. I'm going to go symbolism in literature. How about I do that one? Now, again, I could put a video that I already have, but we'll show. I'm going to come in here and I'll say, yep, this is the one I want. I'm going to start adding questions. What happens is it starts playing and I'll play. Here it comes. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. And then I might say add. And I'm going to add an open-ended. And notice what it does. As soon as I click that add button, as the video is going, it puts the time where the video will pop up. So I can toy with this a little bit and be like, okay, let's, what are symbols? What are symbols? There. So I want this maybe to pop up at the, oh, I'm gonna go back to that one. I want it to pop up a little earlier than that, the 22. So I might say here, define symbol or symbolism in your own words. And I can hit save and continue. And it's gonna keep playing. And then later on, I might do another multiple choice question. So what could symbolize love? Symbolize is spelled with a Y. Symbolize love. And then I could say like a heart, or I could say a dove, or I could say
nature. You
a
could say
nature,
water.
yeah, like a tree.
Tree.
Okay, and I'm gonna say, oh, that's the heart. Okay, save and continue. And off it goes. So
if you said
it's very loud. I'm going to now go
for recycling
and try it as
means I like this.
it didn't like that I didn't give it an answer. Hold on. It says add go. There we go. Add text. Oh, it does want that one. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna now see this as a student. And again, if I started watching this, I'm actually going to play it, but I don't want the volume on it. So a student's watching it, just like, you know, we are here and we're like, okay, they're reading, they're watching the video, they're doing their thing. And instead of now having a list of questions, let's say on another document somewhere, or even like hard piece of paper, something like that, as I'm watching in real time. And again, notice that it's all baked right into Google Classroom. I didn't have to go into YouTube. It's like, oh, hey, here's a question. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I can enter the question, define symbolism. It's a symbol is an object that stands for something else. So if I want to put this in my own words, I can see one thing that means another. So, or a tangible item to represent intangible ideas. Let's say that. Okay, and then I can say, okay, yep, good, submit. It's like, okay, the teacher will review this, because remember, that's one of those not auto-graded ones, because it's a paragraph. So I'm going to continue, and then when I hit continue, it starts playing again. And again, just like we saw in the practice sets, we're going to be able to glean insights from all of this in the same way. So I'm pretty sure I did one. I'm hoping I did. I'm going to, yay. Okay, I'm going to go back here to Google Classroom. Oh, go to YouTube. I have to keep going back. Probably just close all this up. If I come in here, yeah. So in the same way that we saw it in practice sets, I can review work. So this is one that I had my fake student do, read my kid. I did it as my kid. I can come in here and see, okay, here we go. Here's what happened. Let's see. What did this kid say? Oh, they made one attempt. Originally, they said no. And again, I have the insights on that left-hand side. So this is a great way to make sure that students are understanding video materials and to know that they're understanding it and also really activating with it. I love this if you ever have a time that you're not going to be in class and you want to leave work to do with students. Like, okay, I want you to watch this video, right? We often do this. It has that accountability action in it now. Students will actually have to not only watch the video, but answer these questions. And then I can see, okay, did they actually watch it? Are they just like pretending to do the work? Are they doing it? And when I'm not there, I can still glean that insight. I also really like this. I have a colleague who actually records most of her lessons. She started doing this during the pandemic when we were online, and sort of like a la Khan Academy has all of these lessons set up for her class already that she has to show them. And I showed her this. I said, you know, you can now have students, particularly if they're away a certain day and they're like, oh, can I get some extra help? You can say to them, yeah, sure. Go on in and watch this video, and you can have these already set up and then differentiate, send them to certain students or groups of students and say, yep, going, and before we have our extra help session, I'd like you to watch this video, and it's her teaching the lesson. So we're like flipping the classroom here a little bit. You watch these lessons and then answer these questions. And then when the student shows up, I already know as a teacher, you've watched my lesson. I can see where you've struggled, and we're going to spend our time in a really concentrated way, focusing on what you didn't get based on the answers that I saw in this in this interactive YouTube video. Now you can also do this with practice sets, right? You could create one of these and then follow it up with a practice set. But this is sort of like the practice set meets YouTube, really. And don't feel it has to be a pre-made video that's just sitting there waiting. You can create your own videos, upload them to YouTube, and then have students look at that, right? Again, really great if you know you're going to be away for a number of days. I was away in Montreal last week, and if I'd been a classroom teacher, missing 3 days of school would have been really hard, right? Like, how can I leave 3 days worth of work? And having something like this where I've recorded a video ahead of time and have them interact with it could be really, really helpful. So I love interactive tools.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry, Jen. Yeah, I was going to say, even when it comes to, I would say even for read alouds, if there's any read alouds,
I love that.
right? We can even clip apart and have students really listen, and it's almost like a teacher interjecting and saying, I wonder if, or what, for example, like the name jar. It's like, I wonder what, how this might relate to empathy, if the theme is about empathy in the class, if the theme might be about responsibility. I wonder how we can make that connection to a virtue of the month or to a different learning skill. It might be something that can be also like a conversation starter that they can write about and then even interject even in our classroom. So yeah, that's really cool. So many different ways to use it.
I love that. Yeah, I love that read aloud idea. Like, I've been thinking back to like little listening stations in classrooms, and now we can do this and then have the insights already sitting there waiting for us, right? And create it. Those insights are just so helpful to me instead of having to go through it. Just say it's such a time saver. And again, we see that. So I was going to give you a minute to create some interactive questions. And if you want to do that, feel free. But I'm going to go ahead and talk really quickly to the last 4 things that we can really upscale our Google Classroom experience to. So the first one is originality reports. In my district, we use Turnitin, but we also have these originality reports. And there's certain things that I like about the originality reports more so than I have with the Turnitin experience. So with Turnitin, I've often found that it's teachers being like, okay, we are going to catch the plagiarizers. With originality reports, it really allows students to, first of all, they don't have to enroll anywhere else, right? We don't have to be like, oh, what's the link to that? And it's all baked right in. Love that. And I've said that a few times in here. But I also love that they can check themselves, because sometimes there's accidental plagiarism. They don't really realize. They forget to cite something. They don't have the quotes. And you can do that. So originality reports flag passages. So if you've turned these on, when you create an assignment at the bottom, sometimes it'll say, do you want to have originality? You say yes. You click on, do I have the link? I don't. There's a little button that you can toggle. And what you can do is when they're submitted, when you're going through them as a teacher, it'll say, okay, there's 5 flagged passages in here. And it's highlighted in gray, like you can see in the screen cap on the left. It's highlighted in gray, and then it'll say, okay, here are the web matches, and it'll take you right there and highlight it in the web, on the web as well. It can also, and then see, that's where they are. You can see them there. It can also, and I think I have the next one, look at repositories from your own district. So if you've been using originality reports, they'll save in Google for you, and it'll match against people in your own domain as well. So if, let's say, I have a cousin who already did this assignment and I try to hand in the cousin's report as mine, it will flag that as well. What I also love is the student view of this. And this is the idea of the accidental plagiarism. Students can, up to, I think it's 3 times, they are able to run originality reports on their own work and see, okay, here you go. Here is the number of passages or percentage of passages that are seen as not being authentically yours, right? As not being original. So I can go in as a student now and be like, oh, wow. Oh yeah, I forgot to put the quotation marks, or, oh, yeah, this does sound a lot like this. Maybe I should reword this. Maybe I need to remember to cite this and have those embedded citations in. And this can be really helpful for our students to really learn, because we don't want it just to be, this punitive, like, oh, I've caught you cheating. We want them to understand, like, okay, this is not right. I've copied too much of this, and I need to make sure I give credit where credit is due. Another cool feature that they've released in the last, I'd say about 6 months, is class visits. And this was something a lot of us probably could have used during the pandemic when we had supply teachers or whatnot, when we were teaching online for those of us that are not normally online. Class visits allow designated users to come in and quote, visit a classroom. So what does that look like? I think I have a quick video here if you want to watch it, but basically, actually, you know what, I will show it because it's not too long. I'm going to show
so
1
if you're
minute.
in Google
Here we go.
Classroom and you're in your classroom view, the grid view, you can click on class visit, which will tell you that now you can visit a class without having to be a co-teacher.
So if you don't have that class visit button, don't panic. It has to be the Google manager who designates who can visit classes, and it's generally given to people in admin roles, people in curriculum. The non-classroom teacher are given these for the reasons that you're about to see.
So this is kind of handy if you're a substitute teacher, an administrator in a building, IT support, whatever. So I'm just going to search for a teacher's name. Nick Schuman's a teacher in our district, fellow Google trainer with me. So I'm going to take a look at a couple of his things where he's the primary teacher of these things. So I'll go into a classroom because he asked me to go take a look at this. Now the beauty of Visit is there's some transparency in this. I can tell Mr. Schuman why I'm visiting the class. Whether it's something he asked me to do, if I'm IT support, or maybe I'm an administrator observing something that he's doing, or a peer teacher that we're working collaboratively together and we want to view student work together for a PLC or something of that nature. But I'm going to provide teacher support with this one. You can even add a message. So testing this new feature out, because now he's going to get a notification that I am visiting his class. Now,
I love that. It's not like anyone can pop in, because I know a lot of teachers in my district, when they heard about that, it became a union issue, right? Like, well, why, how come my principal can pop in at any point? And there has to be, there is notification sent to you saying that someone has come in to visit your class. So you're not going to be surprised by that. And not that we have anything to hide in our class, but it's always nice to know that our professionalism is being valued, right?
The way I can't sneakily go in there and visit any old class.
Yeah.
So I can go into his classroom and check out things. And just like a co-teacher, I have all of the options that a co-teacher would. So I can go into classwork, I can edit things, I can preview things, I can take a look at the people in the class. I can even take a look at grades, which I won't do for student data privacy's sake. But you can see everything that would go into this, and I can help him out. And then when I just exit, he got that notification. He knows which class I was in, why we were doing it, and then that way I can visit his class.
And that's it. That's pretty easy to do. The other thing that they have available is shareable class templates. Again, your Google administrator decides who gets the ability to do this. So you may or may not have, and I know I don't have it on mine. In fact, it's not turned on in my district at all, but either of these functions seem to be in my district, which is why I have the videos there for you instead of screen caps. Basically, for this one, it's often curriculum leads or verified teachers who can share links to classes or class templates. So I might go in as a department head, for example, and say, okay, I'm teaching 9th grade science, and I'm going to create a shell of a course for all of us with the basics of what we'll cover, and then I can share that. Sort of think a la old, here's the classwork binder, you hand that off. This is the same sort of idea. So in this case, a curriculum lead would go through and say, yep, here you go, here's my course, and then they're going to click that share classwork button, as you're seeing in this GIF on the side, and then it creates a link. And then you can share that link via email. So you write an email off to someone and say, yeah, hey, this is, the resources and the template. Here's the template, off you go. And then that entire classroom is shared. And what happens in that case is the fellow educator receives the email and says, okay, let's do this. And they can export whatever they want from in there. So they don't need to take the entire class. They can select different aspects of that course to import to a new course. And I see that Blythe just wrote that they do have that available in yours. Now, Blythe, do you want to, maybe you can speak to this. Does everyone have the ability to create a shared template? Yes, it does. It does help with a lot of those bugs, Bailey, you're right.
Yeah, I believe so. Have a look, folks, under your classwork. It should come up right at the top.
Awesome. That's great. I think it's such a great way to do things. And like Bailey says, if you make a copy of a class it can create it wreaks a lot of havoc in your Google Drive. So if you do have this for everyone, I think that's great. And even going from year to year, class to class, you might be like, okay, I want to have Chris makes a
Yeah,
good point
totally.
to share
Yeah.
resources in the new curriculum. But you might
Mhm.
even want to do this for your own benefit, right? To say, okay, I want to take this course, I really liked it, I'm going to copy the entire course, send it to myself, open the link, and then just choose, okay, these are the things that matter, sort of the bones of the course as I teach it for a second, third, fourth, fifth time, whatever it happens to be. The final thing we have are third-party applications. So we all know that we use a ton of different tools when we are when we're teaching, right? There's like EdTech tools all over. I've talked about Edpuzzle already. I'm sure everyone uses Kahoot. That Kahoot music is something that we used to use, the William Tell overture, to get people in Jeopardy, to get people to class quickly, and they now play the Kahoot music. Like since the pandemic, that's what my school plays because the kids know and they get all excited, right? Sora, the librarian in me, loves that that's integrated, so we can get digital tools right in. IXL for the math teachers. I used IXL a ton during the pandemic when we were at home with my own children. Google Arts and Culture is in there. Like there's all these Pear Deck. I love Pear Deck if you haven't used it. And again, I don't want to walk through all of them because there's way too many to show. But the idea is that we can. Oh, thank you. We're looking
Thank
at
you,
technical
Blythe.
privacy, and
Nice.
I'm about to talk about that too. Yeah, you don't want to use. There's certain tools that you may have access to. They've actually turned off third-party applications in my district totally because we have very strict privacy rules in our district. But you want to make sure that you are adhering to the privacy rules of your district before you just start going willy-nilly and sharing any of these or using them. One thing that we find though
Principals.
is that we have okay. Oh,
Yeah, principals can request reviews of third-party apps. See the list on this page for apps.
beautiful.
Thank you, Blythe. Awesome.
So one thing that I tend to do is you log in and it's like, okay, now I have to create a link and now it goes. Now the kids have to go and they have to create a password. And then everyone's like, which link are we going to and which site are we on? And we're all over. And again, we want to have that sort of one-stop shopping. I sort of say that Google Classroom is turning into like the Walmart, that I can go there for my groceries and I can go there for my toiletries and I can go there to buy a sofa and I can go there to buy a toaster oven and I can, right? We just want it all in one place. It's really easy, especially for me. Like I had 3 kids in 2.5 years. And so when they were little, like going to multiple stores was just not an option. So this is what we can do with third-party applications. What happens is you click that, you go in to create an assignment, and you'll see on the right-hand side, there'll be more tools with Google Classroom. You can explore add-ons, and they all pop up. And what it does is it bakes everything right into the Google Classroom experience. So if I want to play a Kahoot, I now don't need to go to the Kahoot.it site anymore. I can just open Google Classroom and boom, off to the races I'm going. The kids can go into Google Classroom, just click the link and it's all right there. And I can use all those tools and it just opens up sort of another window in my classroom experience when I'm setting it up as a teacher. I, plug everything in that I need to plug in to create, let's say, my Kahoot. And then the students can play right in there. So instead of me going to Kahoot and doing it all there, I'm staying in Google Classroom. The students are staying in Google Classroom. We're not all over the place. And it just makes it a more streamlined experience, which I love. Okay, that's it for me with 4 minutes left. That's great. So I'm happy to field any question that we have. And I know at this point, I think Nora too might be talking about other free programming that is offered by Logix Academy.
Yes, I'm just going to drop that in here. We have Computer Science Education Week coming up, which is right there. Thank you. I'm going to drop that link there for you if you have any. There's a bunch of different resources that we're going to be sharing. We have from December 4th to 8th. There's the events calendar there. You can totally sign up there. And I also have a feedback form. So if you can, please share your feedback with us. And all those who submit feedback will be entered to receive a free Google goodie bag. And I'll drop that in here as well. Oh, we have Blythe. We're currently only using Google Classroom add-ons for Pear Deck and Sora. These are apps
There we go.
for the, yeah, nice. Have fully privacy reviews completed. Awesome.
Yeah, and we have to, like, I know I get really upset with my district at times, especially having worked on the team that did a lot of that work. But like, oh, I want to have this, and it would just be so much easier if. But at the end of the day, we really do need to keep in mind our student privacy. We want to make sure that that's paramount and that's at the forefront of our decision making as educators, because we don't want to make our students vulnerable to exposure of their personal data. Right. At the end of the day, if we can remember that when we're feeling like, oh, it'd be so much easier if this, Yeah, it would be, but we have to put that student privacy piece first. Yeah, John's requesting Kahoot.
Yeah, he is requesting, I know.
I have a
The only
question.
add-on.
Yeah,
Michelle, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, do the practice sets, can you reuse them in the next class?
Absolutely. So I'll go back and show practice sets here. So if I'm back in my classroom, let's go all the way back here. And I want to, first of all, there's a couple things, Michelle. First of all, I can create practice sets not even in a classroom. Like I can create them just in general. And now I can go into any class and reuse any of these time and time and time again. They sort of sit, that's why you see them on the side here under calendar in practice sets. They're not attributed solely to a single class. Even if you create them for a single class, a singular purpose, they always go into this practice set. It's almost like having like what's it called, a filing cabinet with all your files in your department office. You can go back to those anytime. They don't only need to be used in a specific classroom. And you can also share them. Did I show that too? You can go here, see share link. So if I've created a set that you really like, for our language curriculum for 6th grade, I can say, oh yeah, here, do you want that? I'm going to create a shared link. I'm going to turn that on, and then I can copy the link and send it to you. You would then be able to copy it into your own practice sets and use the ones that I created. So you can create collaboratively with other people. Like you might then take it and build on it and send it back to me. I'm hoping, this is my hope for go down to that little question mark. I'm hoping Google eventually will let us go on like a Google Doc and allow us to create them together and then have them in both of our in our drives, or rather in our classrooms. So yes, you can use them again and again and again and again. They're not one time specific. And you also don't need to, like in classroom, when you want to reuse an assignment, how you go to reuse post and that, you don't need to do that. They're all just sitting in that practice set area.
Right. And how about the video ones?
Video ones, the video ones you would have to go into, that's when you do a reuse assignment one. Those ones aren't as robust. They don't have them on the side. And I don't know why they did that, because they released them at the same time. So to me, and they're so similar to me. But in those ones, it doesn't seem that you can. So, and again, I actually am not sure if you can share the same way you can practice sets. I haven't explored that. I'll have to look.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. Well, if there aren't any more questions, or you could feel free to stay and drop them in the chat. It's 5 p.m. here, which is 3 p.m. over there. And thank you so much for joining EdTech Summit with us today. Again, this is being recorded, so we will provide that link as well. So I'm going to end the recording. And thank you so much for joining us.